Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. Once again, Agnes Vivarelli and Dan RadioStyle are here again to talk about some interesting stuff this time. We got a list of questions from viewers that we thought we would try to answer, and some of these questions were actually pretty good. And Agnes and I said, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and do a show on this? So, Agnes, how you been? How's anything exciting new going on, or just
Hello, Dan.
living the dream?
Yes, enjoying my insect-infested city of Sydney.
Not just insects, but insects that can kill, mind you. Insects that can kill in seconds. Most
Yes, and we're
deadly
still
place
here.
on the planet. Yes. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
We're still alive, and we're still, doing our thing month by month. So far, so good.
Do you guys have poisonous earthworms, I wonder? I just figure everything in Australia is probably just deadly, viciously so.
No, the earthworms are an exception
Okay, good.
to the rule.
That's why they
exception
stay underground, though. They stay away from all that other scary stuff. They're like, no, man, no, mate. That stuff's crazy. All right, whatever. Well, very good, very good. So, do you want me to start with the first question? We'll see how this goes. We'll just take we'll take it away.
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Go for it.
So, one of the viewers, I'll say it was Pamela. She said, "I would be curious to know how each of you got into LOA stuff, especially if one or both of you grew up being raised in a particular religion where you weren't aware of this stuff before. Like, what was the moment or the tipping point that got you into it, and/or made you believe?" So. I was curious, what for you? What was your tipping point?
Good question. Well,
that's a
I
tough one.
grew up in a totally non-religious family. I was technically Catholic because being born and raised in France, but we never went to church. And I ended up moving to Canada. My parents immigrated there, and when we were in Canada, my mum, being a hippie at the time, was very much into natural therapies and organic food and all that stuff. And all I wanted to do was go to McDonald's. So I wasn't really listening. And part of that was her listening to Louise Hay. And I used to just roll my eyes and go, oh my goodness, what is this? And I wasn't interested. When I turned 29 and I'd already moved to Australia, I got a tumor, and then I went, oh, maybe it's time to go back and listen to Louise Hay. But that was like a decade later after Mum had been listening to it for a long time. So, yeah, it really was that very basic beginning. So I was, I think, 28 when I got the tumor, and that started my journey of really looking within at what was being created on the outside. I mean, this was a health issue on the inside, but then it was echoed in bad relationships for me chasing love and really getting smashed in the relationship department, and also going into debt, and then also never having jobs where I was paid enough. I was always having to work too hard for money, and then that would smash my health. So went around in circles a lot, pretty much on every subject: love, money, health, work, feeling totally unloved and unrespected in every area. And that was therefore echoed in every area of my life. So,
I'm going to answer this question too, but you bring up another one. The way, oh crap, I lost it already. All right. I wonder, yeah, I totally lost the question. Oh well, it happens.
It's on the floor right next to your feet. You dropped
it's
it.
like, I don't know what happened. Where'd it go? Oh, well, doesn't matter. Yeah, for me, the big moment happened, I was kind of young, actually. And for me, it started, like, well, one, I was brought up, I guess, kind of like you. I was brought up Catholic, and we were religious. We had to go to church. I did First Communion. I did confirmation. I did the whole 9 yards. So I was kind of always sort of into that, I guess. But I learned at an early age that I seemed to be able to understand how people were feeling. So when they said things that weren't really in line with how their current feeling was, like, I kind of realized I was sort of different and could pick up on when people were lying at a reasonably early age. And it was my older brother that kind of, I think, started me down the path of sort of expanding that consciousness, and through that evolution, I learned that our thoughts are what create our reality. Really, what we think, what we say, what we do is what is our manifest. They didn't call it law of attraction where I learned it, but that ended up being something that I kind of circled back to later, and it was like, oh, okay, now they got a cool, fancy marketing name for it. Good on them.
Yeah.
You know? So
I think it was, Dan, I think it was just the new age industry then.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and it kind of was the hippies. You know, it was the hippies that kind of in the 60s and 70s when we were kids, it was the hippies movement, really.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah, which is funny is my parents were ultra conservative. My mom, it's on her side of the family, I think, if there is that kind of aspect to it, that this probably comes from for me, because her dad was kind of a conservative as well, and his just this whole belief structure and all that. So yeah, they didn't really have that kind of openness to, I don't know, talking to dead people or anything strange like that. So yeah, it was interesting growing up, and literally I lived in a haunted place when I was younger. Like I just, from like very early age on, I think my life has shaped me to be different. So
yeah,
I just lucked out. Golly gee, you know. So it is how it plays out, though. Well, that was cool.
You're not different.
No,
Whoever said you were different.
No. Everyone I meet is just like me. I mean, it's awesome. It's fantastic. It's like a hall of mirrors. Ooh. Yeah.
I got to tell you, as a side salad.
Oh, good.
One of my viewers sent me a T-shirt. Well, she sent me 2 T-shirts. One says self-love. The second one says organic nut.
Nice. The shirt is already out there. I love it.
Yeah, the shirt is out there. I'll wear it. I should have worn it today.
Nut. Yeah, that would have been good. I like that.
I think it's in the wash. Well,
nice. Now, are you at your mom's? Are you her mom?
No, I'm in my regular Airbnb in Sydney.
Gotcha. Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Yay!
I know, right? It's got to be great. How long are you out there? A while?
I go back to London on the 17th of October to go back to the flat.
Oh, okay.
The little flat in London, the little pod.
All right. It's quaint, right? It's cozy. We have nice words like that for places that are like that, right? So we got another one. This one's kind of fun, and we'll see how we come up on this one, because I think this is a good talking point as well. Finding the actual question. So yeah, I'd like to. This person was Lisa. She'd like to know if you or I get anxiety or that type of fear that some of your viewers get from time to time, and if so, what types of things do you do or get anxious about? I guess actually, after we've talked, there's one. I got an example too. Yeah. So you get anxious.
Go first. And
how do you deal with it? All right. Well, I guess I will.
You go first.
There have been, I guess, on a couple occasions. Times where I guess I did feel anxious. And I will honestly say, in hindsight and looking back on it, I think some of the things that I was probably going through is self-love issues, or not thinking I was worthy. A lot of times it would be because I was entertaining thoughts of the societal differences, if you will, maybe of me and the person. And so because of that, I felt it made it hard to bridge that gap. And I think when I would think that way, it would cause like a cascading, if you will, of anxiety. Typically, the affirmations are kind of the direction I would go. I will say generally, I kind of just do a lot of the, imagine it, let it go, and kind of go on to other things. And just, there's not a whole lot of things that I'm just urgently waiting for in my life. Like everything's pretty groovy right now. Like I'm surfing the waves. So I'm kind of looking out ahead, and I'm like, all right, this is where I'd like to go. And I'm not too much looking at my feet, if you will. So I will say it's probably been a while since I've kind of had that anxiousness, but I get it. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from, in my opinion, is that I want this right now. I want it fast. And it's like, why, how can I, and I think when we overdo it or make it too important at this moment, I don't know, when we get into that realm, it starts to become separated from us. And I think some of that anxiousness comes from that detaching our hope from our reality. I don't know. That's just crazy talk, but kind of where that's how I see it anyways. Strange.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Let me have a look. The question.
Oh yeah, that's the second one from the top.
Yeah.
About halfway in.
Lisa. Yeah. Okay. If you get anxiety or that type of fear that some of your viewers get. Yes, I get it regularly, not just from time to time.
Nice.
I get anxiety every week. I get anxiety about the level of work that I have to do and the not having enough time, because there's so many ideas and things I want to put into what I'm doing. And I've got a tendency to overwork. It's something I've got to constantly watch, that I log off. And being a creative person, I can tip into overdoing, like it's like workaholism, really. But the thing is, I love it. That's the hardest part. Before, it was workaholism and I didn't like my job. It was just driven by making money because I was in debt. Now it's more, I really love what I do, especially creating YouTubes and, just coming up with new ideas for YouTubes and things like that. So I get this, I can't get as much done as I want to in a day, and I don't have enough time. The thing is, I've got the same amount of time everybody else has, which is 24 hours. The other thing I probably get anxiety about is leaving my mum in Sydney when I'm in London, because I know she's in Sydney on her own. That does create anxiety for me. I mean, not that she's old, she just turned 70, but I get this thing that, yes, she's got her friends, but I get that typical eldest child thing of, over responsibility. And I mean, I know she's fine, but I'm far away. And that the being far away when she's in Sydney on her own is what creates anxiety for me. And I know that comes from, luckily when I was in Sydney once, she got hit by a car.
Oh my.
She was walking along the sidewalk and this guy accelerated instead of hitting the brake, and he ran into her, and then he ran into a house. So I get that thing. Well, stuff does happen, and now it's part of what my mum and I have experienced. So I think I still carry a little bit of anxiety about things can happen. And what if you're not here next time something, I get into that, and I've got to just take a breath and go, well, whatever happens, you'll deal with it, like everybody else. People are vulnerable in the world. That's how it is. We are vulnerable in the world to some degree. We all get born and we all die, and that's just the natural progression.
Let me ask, do you ever get, because I think that was part of the angle of this question too, was do you ever get anxiety when trying to manifest? Like you're trying to manifest something and you maybe get anxious or like, because I think that's kind of what she was wondering, is like if you do still, or does that get to a point where that kind of stops?
I think a lot of the time I would say no, because I think the things that I want to manifest now, they're kind of cherry on the cake stuff. My work life's great. My money's fine. I've got a couple of health things that I'm working on, but they don't cause me that much concern, because I know I've manifested my way into the tumor and I've manifested my way out. So I know I've got the power within my mind to heal and create a healthy body again when I am out of kilter. I do get anxiety sometimes about a big goal. Like there's something that I am trying to manifest and it's actually for my mum. And it's a really big thing for me. So do I get anxiety sometimes? Yes, because I have thoughts of sometimes, not all the time. What if I run out of time? She's already 70, I'm already 52. What if I'm, like I get that time kind of constraint like a lot of people do. Right. But then I just go, okay, well, hey, lay on the bed, breathe, say I cast this upon the God within, and I go free. And I literally do some deep breathing, because when you're in anxiety or whatever, you're shallow breathing. I make sure my body starts breathing more deeply, and I literally say, I surrender, I let go, I surrender, I let go. And I just change my thinking pretty quickly, and then it passes. So I don't stay stuck there for, months like I used to.
Point I was making earlier, and you just, I think, demonstrated it too. And this is where I typically see it. And so I'm curious what you think, but again, it's that I hope I can do this before we run out of time, which is that time thing that I want to do it sooner.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing I try to remind myself in these situations is we're always in God's time, or we're always in divine time, or we're always in universe or source's time. We're always in the right time, and things are happening and evolving as they should. At least, and maybe that's a cop out or whatever. I don't know, but for a lot of reasons, it just allows me to keep kind of moving forward and not worrying about it, right? And so I think that's where a lot of times that anxiety can come from is how can I get there quicker? How can I go faster, faster? And like we've talked about before, you can only do so much, and I think sometimes there's just an evolution that has to happen. So,
and also when you know what we know. You know that anxiety, well, you know that anxiety is actually going to send you in the reverse direction. Right, so exactly. It's saying you got to surrender and let this go as quickly as you can. You're human. It's coming up. Now release it by acknowledging it's there. And I just say that thing over and over. I surrender, I let go. I surrender, I let go. Nice. And I breathe, because people say to me often, how do I let go? Well, it's a physical thing. You're hanging on. Yeah. It's like a feeling in your stomach and your head's going. So you got to calm this down, and then you actually got to physically do something, which for me, the breathing, you're forcing your shallow breathing to go into deeper breathing, which then unlocks the surrender.
Right. And forcing is kind of akin also to that grabbing sand with your hand, right? And the tighter you squeeze, the more sand falls out of your hand to do that. So it's one of those things where sometimes you've kind of just got to gently scoop it and just take it for what it is. Now, you brought up another good point. I made a note this time, so I would remember. But you're talking about the level of work, and I thought this was also another topic that is worthy of discussion, because as we get better and better at manifesting, or as you use it more and more, and like you and I were kind of talking about some of the cool things that are going on in our life right now, right? And as you do get more and more successful and confident with manifesting, you do start to manifest sometimes almost too big, right? Like you get almost a little too successful in some ways, and you're like, now you've got to almost manifest and taper. We kind of joked about the pruning concept, but I think that's something too that people need to understand is this works so well sometimes, or always, or whatever, but it works. And it's like, as you keep putting energy towards these things, you continue to evolve it out more and more. And
that's true.
Because you were talking about some of the anxiety you get just trying to deal with the day and time getting away from us and the whole 9 yards. So it definitely happens.
Well, I've had to learn. When I first started this, I did my coaching course in 2014, and I didn't know anything about anything. I just thought, how am I ever going to create a business? Anyway, I was YouTubing just for fun. It wasn't actually to go, I'm going to YouTube so I can get clients. Right. I was YouTubing because I wanted to share this information and just get comfortable with talking about it. So I thought, okay, then I remember when it was December 2016.
Okay.
I had 900 viewers. Nice. I still remember this week because it was a milestone. I had 900 viewers on YouTube, and between Christmas Day, it wasn't even Boxing Day, it was Christmas Day and January 1st, New Year's Day, that week in between, I don't know what happened, but it's like the YouTube channel exploded, and the amount of people that wanted coaching just took off. And I had like about 8 people in 1 week, which I'd never had. I used to get 1 or 2 people a month.
Right.
And I, was still doing other jobs. In this week, it was just like, I don't know what happened. Anyway, January kind of continued, and I realize now this happens every year now because people are on holidays. They're reevaluating the end of the year. They're looking at the new year. Yep. So it's pretty much a trend now that I can see. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not where I want to be and all this stuff. And I thought, okay, so now I expect this thing to happen every year because I know people are on holidays and that's what happens. They've got more time to research and look around. So then it went down a little bit in February and March. And then again, it started picking up. And then since then, it has kept going. It's been a trajectory that's gone pretty much up. Yes, it's had little dips, but it's been on a trajectory. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I can't keep up. How can I keep up with this volume? And I used to get 10 emails a day. Now it goes up to 50 or 60. And I started to feel this feeling of, oh my God, this is, how am I going to keep up with this? Because I was now no longer able to clear what was coming in for the day. I was no longer able. So what happened? I started getting heart palpitations.
Yeah.
I remember being in Sydney. I can't remember when it was. It was about, I don't know, 8 months ago. And I woke up and my heart was pumping. I thought I was having a heart attack. I wasn't having a heart attack.
Thank goodness.
Was palpitations.
Yeah, right. Goodness.
I thought, I can't have a heart attack at 50.
Yes.
What? I look after myself. No way.
2 years of videos people would miss out on. Look at that.
But yeah, Dan, it was literally taking things on too much emotionally, feeling like I want to help everybody, not being able to, and then also having to say, I'm one person. There's many people that can help. It's not, this is the thing that I carry from childhood. It's one of my negative things. I've got Robin Hood syndrome. I feel like I'm the one that has to ride on the horse and help everyone.
Right.
So I have to let that go and say, I'll help those that I can when I can, but I still need 2 days off a week.
Sure.
Otherwise, I'm not going to have longevity, and I'm going to burn myself out, which means I'm not practicing self-love and self-care, which is what I talk about. Right. So I thought, you can't be, let's not be stupid.
Well, it's very easy. It's easy to get wrapped up with it and overwhelmed by it all. And I think that's part of it is one thing that really is important in this whole law of attraction process, and certainly in the mastery of it, if you will, is really taking stock in where you're at. And paying attention to the signs within your own body. Are you getting overly stressed?
Yes.
If you are, you need to kind of get life sort of in control. It's not just about thinking things. It's about keeping kind of a balance and flow going. That's why it's unfortunate, but it's a little more than just law of attraction. There's some of that emotional well-being that is part of this. I think a lot of people want to just make it's all about thinking good thoughts, and that's a lot of it, and that inspires vision and view, but that's not 100% of it. It's a good chunk of it. So again, I think there's those balance that we need to really incorporate in our lives, and I think that also makes a huge difference when it comes to manifesting.
It does, and the thing is, Dan, I've realized YouTube is YouTube. It's inevitable. It's going to grow. The views don't go down. The subscribers don't go down unless you really do something totally,
there's examples.
It's always going to go up, even if it goes up incredibly slowly at one viewer a day or one view a day, it's still eventually going to go up. So you think, okay, I had to get to the point where I go, okay, I have to start outsourcing to release. I'm good. And the great thing is creating work for other people is a wonderful thing. I've got 3 people that subcontract for me now to do different things. I love that I can give them creative work. I love that they can be part of this with me. I love that I'm just not just in my own head and I don't have anyone because I made all the decisions about everything for 2 years. Now I've got people I can say, hey, I'm thinking of this. Have you got any thoughts? They reflect something back to me. It's fantastic actually having someone to share the contents of your head creatively with, and that you can bounce things off. It's fun.
Right. I love the fact that I'm actually like touching and like contacting with the Agnes Vivarelli empire right now. So that's pretty incredible. So I'm just feeling good where I'm at right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the empire is officially still wearing pajamas today.
Nice, but those are cute pajamas. Those are probably made of silk from individuated silkworms that were raised on certain food that was so pure. Yeah, it's amazing the silk they use.
It's a pretty slick empire, as you can see.
Darn. It is pretty. We all know you're very humble and modest, and so of course. And the empire, you've got things. Anyway, all right. So a couple more questions here, as we side salad our way. But that was good stuff. I thought we side saladed. I guess we're making that word a verb.
Lisa actually had a second part of her question there.
Oh, okay. Let's. What do you got it? Go. You got it. Go.
I'll read it out,
yes,
and you can answer it first. Since some of us can get caught up with things we don't like and want in front of us, what steps do you both take to ignore the current reality and focus on what you want? What does your daily self-love routine look like? What do you both do to let go and surrender? There's the question.
Right.
So what do you think?
So, the daily routine. Wait, let me make sure, because there was a lot in there.
There was. I've only read you the first 3 or 4 lines.
Sometimes get caught up in things. So, okay, the ignoring the current reality is one I kind of recently did a show on, and I don't like to, myself, this is my take on it, so I don't know what's the teaching or whatever, but when it comes to ignoring, I find that when something's showing up in my path that I don't particularly like, I actually look at it, and I'm like, why is this here? What's going on? This is interesting, because I haven't really been focused on this, I don't think, and maybe I have, or maybe it's here to teach something. Maybe there's a contrast, right? Because there's a lot of things that can kind of happen, but sometimes I usually try to look at it, and I don't, like I was telling people recently, it's like when you're in a riptide, you don't try to swim against it because it'll just suck you out to sea. You got to swim parallel to the shore. So sometimes when we get our thoughts off on a tangent, if you will, all you have to do is you need like an affirmation or something. And again, I affirmations work really well for me, but that's like swimming parallel to shore in my mind, is change your thoughts from this negative thing that you're so afraid that you just had, like by ignoring it or by trying to make it go away, or any of those sorts of things, you just bring more of it. So like hug it, embrace it, love it, go, hey, I love you. Where'd you come from? I don't know, but all right, thanks for showing me what you're showing me. All right, let's get our thoughts back on where I'd like to go. And I was kind of using the analogy of, like, there's a tree off in the distance, and that's where the little town is, but you don't see the town, but you can see the tree. So you keep walking towards the tree, and maybe there's a rattlesnake in the path in front of you, so you kind of go off to the side, and eventually you're going to turn back towards the tree. So getting all hung up on the fact that we're not pointed at the tree at this moment sometimes, I think, is where we create, again, anxiety, kind of to the original question even too. But I think a lot of times that's what's helpful to me, is not so much seeing it as a bad thing, but sort of, like I said, loving it, embracing it, seeing it as something that's showing me something. I don't know, it's but not getting all hung up on it and upset about it, right? And then I think that tends to make it a lot easier for me. And self-love is really, for me, honestly, the one thing that my routine is I do a meditation in the morning, usually in the shower. And then 2, it's really trying to give myself enough me time, at least a little every day, to just be and not have to do something for anyone else other than just be. And that may be just me listening to music, maybe just playing a video game or something. Who knows? Whatever feels good for me at the moment, but just something that gets my mind off it all. And I think that for me helps a lot, just because there's a lot. And like to your point, like in the last year, and you and I were talking about, I have enhanced my situation in life significantly, and it's taking some adjusting for me, and making sure that I keep that quote work-life balance at play is really, really important to me right now. So, what about you?
And it is a challenge to keep that going. Like, I know every day I have to literally pry myself off the Mac and go and do your walk, and go and lay on the couch and do a meditation for 30 minutes. Because I get this kind of creative fixation, obsession. I just lock myself in, and the whole world disappears behind me. And then I look up, and like the sunset,
like dark.
And I've had
exactly. Yeah. You're like, oh my God.
So I've got to watch that. I really have to watch those bloody obsessive creative tendencies.
And so, what's funny too, just real quick on a sort of side salad, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, nice problems to have. I'm like, no, believe me, there's not a big difference between not being real good at this and like suddenly being very, very successful. And I think one of the things, I don't know, well, I think it's the next question, so we'll get to that. But yeah, so I was curious about your daily maybe routine, or what your to her question.
I like the thing about what she's saying about steps you take to ignore current reality and focus on what you want. Well, I find anytime something's in front of me that I don't like, and I go, ugh, I go, okay, what was I thinking and feeling and believing that I attracted that?
Right.
And everyone's me pushed out. Everything is me pushed out. So I that's what I do. I go, if that's there, what have I been doing? So I quickly look at what I've been doing. Then I go, oh, okay, I've been standing there. My ex-husband used to say, he used to call me hands on hips Vivarelli, because I'd always be protesting about something.
If you put the fists in, I call that the superhero version, because that's like how the superheroes always stand when they're like on top of the moon or something like that. Anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just so I don't have to listen to that anymore because we're no longer together. But
well, there's that. There's that.
The comment still stays with me because he was right.
Well, it's kind of fun. Do you still do it? Do you think? Do you catch yourself doing it sometimes?
I do it
like in the middle of the
mentally.
hallway, like you'll stop for a second.
Yeah.
And you're like,
no, I don't physically do it. I mentally do it. So why is that going on? And why is that person doing it? And why do I have to listen to that? And why is that person so stingy? And
why am I talking to myself?
So I do it in that way. So, okay, daily routine. Yeah. My daily routine is pretty simple. I try and keep, listening to Dan Depani, which, I've posted some of his videos and him talking about you've only got like that much energy every day and then you sleep for 8 hours. I do sleep 8 hours. Yeah. Bed to me is more important than food. Yeah. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm horrible. So for me, waking up without an alarm is my daily routine, how I start. Secondly, I have a cup of tea. I try not to check any emails or anything for the first hour of my day. I make it a plan to do that so I'm not instantly bombarding my head with stuff. I'm trying to ease into the day. And I mean, I don't work for anyone else, so I can usually ease in. Right. While I'm still in bed for that 50 minutes to an hour, because I kind of wake up and then I lay there in a haze for about an hour. So I just do.
Sorry.
That was bad.
Sorry, it was pretty bad. I know.
Louise. Sorry.
Had to.
Oh God, you had to. You had to.
I have issues. It's okay. I was dropped when I was younger. Anyways, you were saying.
So. Yeah, I literally just lay there, I've got an app called Insight Timer. It's meditation app, and you build your own meditation. So you pick the Tibetan bells, you pick the bowl sound, you pick the waves or whatever. You build your own meditation. You put the time length that you want on it. And I've made 2 or 3.
That's awesome.
So I just play one of those and it's just music, and then I repeat my affirmations. I do about 1,000 affirmations in the morning. It takes me less than an hour.
Wow.
So I do that pretty much every morning. Yeah, I just think, there's 2 times I do affirmations. In the morning when I'm in that haze and when I go for a walk. And I usually walk every day for an hour. So I'm doing pretty much 2 solid hours of affirmations. So that's my routine. And I do a meditation at night as I drift off to sleep. I pick sometimes a guided one, sometimes just music where I actually want to do my own imaginal things. I've got about 4 or 5 things I'm creating in my head. Yeah. So I sometimes do the 5 if I'm fairly alert. Other times I'll just go to bed saying, isn't it wonderful what's happening to me now? And just capture that feeling because my brain's too tired to go through different individual scenes. So you can sort of cater, and do it slightly differently. But that's pretty much my routine. And then there's the physical stuff. I make sure I drink lots of water. I make sure I drink lots of fresh juices. I make sure I have cups of tea. I'm not a real fan of green tea, I'll be honest, but I am drinking a couple of cups a day. I know I look better and I feel better when I do that. My energy's better, and then I think better, and then I'm more productive. So all my diet was one of the last areas I wanted to deal with. I love sugar. I come from France. We eat cake and bread and pasta and
exactly
all the stuff so I try and eat a lot of Asian food because that has a lot of greens and it's just, all the Vietnamese soups and all that Thai food, and stay away from the rice stuff and eat more of the brothy stuff because I know my body feels better, my digestion. One of my issues, my Achilles heel is headaches and my stomach not digesting properly because I take stuff on from my work and it affects my digestion. So I've got to make sure I do have weak links. Yes, I can change that, and I do, but I need to give it the best possible opportunity to work at its highest optimum level by doing what I know is going to help it to do so.
You bring up a good point too, because like all of us have our Achilles heels, have our moments of weakness, have our, I I don't buy a lot of junk food because when I do, I will just mow on it. I will just sit, 'cause like I usually eat once a day, which I know everyone says is horrible. Whatever, I've been doing it for forever, and I get heartburn if I eat differently, right? So it's just whatever.
Yeah.
So when I eat. I'm I'm like a snake, man. I eat a lot, and then it's just like it processes through my body or whatever, right? I just fly in the fetal position for hours, just dealing with that meal I just ate. But still, the same concept. It's I'm the same as you.
Yeah. Is that your Achilles heel, Dan?
Junk food is definitely one of them. I do like to get I like wine and stuff, and that's honestly for me like losing weight. It's very easy for me to control my diet as far as I can go without eating pretty easily if I need to.
Yeah,
and I've got a very effective diet that if I want to lose weight quickly, I use it. But for me, honestly, if I don't drink alcohol for like a week, I can drop almost 5 pounds just doing that. I mean, I think a lot of it's because it stays in the skin, it bloats. It's not good for your alcohol. It's certainly not healthy, but I enjoy wine. But that being said, it's that's the easiest one for me to quickly shed pounds, and then I find that I'm pretty happy with where I end up. But again, we all have our moments. We all have moments where my self-esteem is low, or maybe I'm looking in the mirror and I'm just not happy with what I'm seeing or whatever. I mean, all of us get like that. It's just you got to remember that we're more than our bodies, we're more than our minds, we're more than we just got to sometimes whatever it is that we're freaking out about, you're more than that. Whatever that thing is, you're way larger than that, and just kind of try to remember there's a bigger picture going on in all of our lives, especially when it comes to a specific person. Like, yes, even when you get that person, I think the next question, which I kind of like, but even when you get that person, you're still going to continue evolving your life, right? Like, it's not like you're done with life once you've manifested your person back or manifested them in general.
Exactly right. Good questions.
I thought so.
Did we finish her question? No, there's more to her question.
There's a whole bunch in her
question.
Okay.
Let me read it to you.
Sure.
How did you both maintain your new state when your SPs showed up, rather than falling back into old patterns, and how much of a challenge was it for you to change? With all the experiences and success you've both had with LOA, what advice would you give to those currently working on themselves, their self-love, manifesting money, a specific person, a new job, etc., especially those who might feel a little discouraged or even lost at times? Describe the magic you felt when your SP started behaving in a positive manner towards you based on the positive projections you had of them. Oh, nice question.
Yeah,
wow,
it's like a lot going on there. So when the relationship part happens, first off, the ex scenario wasn't really how mine played out. So my situation's a little different. I have gotten back with exes before in the past, and there had been a tendency to kind of fall back into old patterns, just kind of what I'd found. I wasn't really doing law of attraction at that time, so I've honestly never tried these techniques to get an ex back. I know I didn't let go easily, so that being said, I did a show on my scenario, and then once I kind of finally did what I did, the person that is currently napping in the room next to me here came into my life, and I don't think I could have I couldn't have painted a more perfect person for me with my own brush and canvas, and I think a lot of that really came to how much time I spent kind of what I call the painting your perfect person. I think there was a show I did where you essentially are trying to imagine what would love be for me, like what do I need as a person, what kind of how much talking do I want, how much time alone do I want, how much going out do I want, like the whole. There's so many facets, like what belief structure should they have? If politics matter, where should that fit in? Like just really trying to come up with what is it that I really, really want and really would work for me. And it's just odd as, that's what happened to me is exactly I couldn't probably have imagined a better scenario. So it was pretty cool. So again, do I work on it? Well, I enjoy the relationship and the relationship's evolving. So from that standpoint, do I keep imagining us together? And so, no, but I keep thinking about different places I'd like to go with her and different lifestyles, and a house together, that kind of stuff. So from that standpoint, I definitely get it. My new state, so there's not really well, to me, that makes more sense from a work standpoint, like career, a new state, because I kind of see when you evolve, and you could probably totally speak to this from the evolution of your channel, but when you finally almost break through a plateau, there's a certain level, and it's when you break through it, you kind of know it. It's that moment when maybe you don't need to worry about money anymore per se, right? I mean, you might not be making gobs and gobs, but you're making more than you need, so you're not really worried about it, right? Gobs, yeah. But there's when you get into that level, maintaining that state, I've definitely seen that come into play, but less so with the relationship. And we're gonna get a live phone call here, people on the air. This is fantastic. Love it.
No, that was my alarm to get
that's
up
your alarm.
To be with you, but I set it an hour too late.
Excellent. Yeah, you've missed that. That's well done.
Totally.
That's good. I did that, unfortunately, in our last one.
Yeah.
And with all the experience and success, I would say the advice that I really try to push, and this sounds so crazy, but it's what made the biggest difference for me was when I finally, like Neville Goddard has said, when you realize that what you see in your mind is real, really, when you finally make that connection, when you keep doing these thoughts and then these things happen and they keep leading you in the direction you're going, and you experience that over and over a bunch of times, and then finally you realize this is it. It truly does work. That confidence is what makes all the difference. I mean, and getting to that, I know, is tricky, but it's really the small things, and it's really paying attention. Like, we think thoughts all day long. We're thinking about things all day long. Law of attraction is not something that you turn on a switch and, all right, law of attraction on. All right, everything I'm thinking, everything I'm thinking, everything I'm doing. All right, off. Okay, now I can think whatever I want. No, it's always on. That switch is busted in the up position, all right? So that's the part that I think people, they don't notice a lot of the slack times in their day when their mind's just wandering on how Becky just upset me about, the other day, and she looked at me at the mailbox or whatever. And you're like, what? Yeah. We don't realize when we do it like that. That's that stuff that gets us. And we don't realize our thoughts are always creating. They're always turned on.
Yep.
All right. I've answered a lot. What do you think? What do you got? What do you got there, girl?
Let me have a look again.
I know, right?
Yeah, I got to reread it in
like
chunks.
18 questions on this one question.
I know, it's good. Lisa put some good effort into her questions. So I've talked about the daily routine. How do you both let go and surrender? Well, I've talked about that already. How did you both maintain your new state when your SP showed up rather than falling back into old patterns? Well, I fell back into old patterns all the time. It's not a straight line of going from being totally insecure and feeling unloved and wanted to feeling totally loved and wanted and confident that you're going to get your SP. It didn't happen like that for me. It's definitely, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. You feel great and high and you believe it, and then you crash and burn and go, what the hell am I doing? And then, you continue to go through that. It happens less and less until you become less and less disturbed by it, because you understand more and more and more that you are loved and love comes from within. I think that is something that grows over time, because we still get trapped under the illusion, and I was very much that person as well, of thinking love is over there with that person. And if they're loving me, I feel great. And if they're not loving me, I crash and burn like being a puppet on a string. So it's like the more I did my self-love, the more I practiced feeling loved and wanted, in particular holding that new state, then it got easier and easier and easier on my side. And then I attracted more and more of a good relationship on the external. So the advice that I would give to those currently working on themselves is putting the emphasis on, really, it's one simple thing. You got to stop feeling unloved, and you got to do everything you can to feel loved. All the other techniques, all the other stuff on the channel, all the other stuff on YouTube, all the other stuff about the law of attraction. If you can do that one thing and work out ways, how can I do that for myself? Your relationship with your specific person or anyone else or money or your health will dramatically increase, because it is your unloved feeling which is causing this icky green stuff all over you, and it's like the things you want can't penetrate it.
Yeah.
It just can't.
Yeah, if if
So,
you don't feel worthy,
yeah.
you can't ever,
Yeah.
again, that's another one of those aspects of how we separate ourselves from that which is already ours, is that I'm not
Yeah.
worthy of it. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. The self-love really, or the worthiness, either or,
Mm.
is
The
really,
worthiness
yeah,
and getting to that I am good enough. Because
yeah,
we talked about
and
religion,
believing
and I
it.
have to say, one of the downs, there's so many good sides about religion, but the downside of religion is that people get told that they're sinners and there's something wrong with them, and that
Right,
there's something inherently wrong, and there is nothing wrong with you. It's just you've believed that there is, and
right.
that is polluting your sense of I am loved feeling. So, and that doesn't come just from religion. It comes from people's families. It comes from school. It comes from, whoever was around you that was not in a good state, and
Usually
you've
that
seen it.
authority figure in our life, whoever that
Yeah.
was, could have been school, could have been religious, could have been our parents, could have been
Yep.
our neighbor, could have exactly, any number of people. And you're right, there is that. At some point in our lives, we had that separation put inside our minds, or whatever. And it was with me too. But unfortunately, that was kind of what led me to my spiritual path. To be honest with you, was some of the contradictions
Exactly.
I saw with religion. It bothered
Yep.
me too much. I started reading an author, Neil Donald Walsh, and there was a book
Yes.
called Friendship with God, after the
Yep.
first 3 books. And that book, I
Yeah.
think, really changed my life. I started working on that relationship with Source, with Universe, with, at the time, to me, it was God, because I came from a Catholic environment.
Yep.
That changed everything for me, because it wasn't anymore what everyone else told me was this, like, being or whatever, like this thing I'm supposed to love. Like, it was now my experience and understanding of it. It wasn't someone telling me what it should be.
Yeah.
It was me understanding it from my own vantage point, and that was
Yep.
pretty powerful for me. But,
Mm.
nice. So do
Yeah.
you think we probably want to cut it here, and we can maybe save these other questions for another show, or do you want to go for it? I think we're pushing 30 minutes probably. I don't know. I can't tell how long.
Yeah, let's do a bit more. I mean,
Okay.
it says an hour and 8 minutes, but I know you and I talked for about 20, 30 minutes before we switched on. So, yeah, if you've got time,
Yeah,
it's
let's
up to
do
you.
it. Yeah, we'll go ahead. Let's do it. So
Okay.
let's check out the one from Ms. Brock. Are there any manifestations you currently struggle with, or have you gained a level of confidence it takes to be masters of law of attraction? That's a catchy little sneaky turn there.
Miss Brock, good
Yeah,
question.
she's awesome. Once you have manifested something you wanted, do you feel it's necessary to do maintenance manifesting to keep it, or does this kind of similar to the other ladies, so you don't necessarily have to? But do you feel like do you have to do something to keep the maintenance, or does it just happen naturally through your desires? Blah blah blah. So 2 majors: career and relationships, I guess, would be the 2 areas.
Yep.
And money, I would say, would be the other side of it. But
money.
We can tie that into that too. I think.
Career. Yeah, for sure. Well, I would say, is there any manifestations I'm currently struggling with? Yes. Have I gained the level of confidence it takes to be the masters of LOA? Well, I would never say I'm a master. I feel like I'm still learning to be, basic intermediate.
Yeah.
I feel like I've only earned, I don't know what the belt colors. I know there's a white belt in karate. What's the next one? Yellow?
Yellow, orange, green, blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm about a yellow or an orange.
There you go.
I would say.
That's pretty good.
Because, stop, start. It is, you really see the more you try to manifest and you're not able to, and then you finally break through, just how much you make it difficult for yourself. I think the better you get, the less you go through that huge high and huge low. You surrender more, you allow more. And I think that's where I'm at with my manifesting, is practicing more the allowing and surrendering part, because we are so much in action mode. When we learn about law of attraction, when we learn about the mechanics of how things work, you go into, okay, well, what technique can I do? And what, and you start doing all this, whispering technique, rubbing out technique, scripting, vision boards, imagining creates reality, which is good. But you get to a point where you know that's only 50% of it. The other 50 is the inactivity. It's the surrendering, the doubt. It's the allowing it to happen in the time that it's meant to happen. It's the letting go of the frustration in the meantime. It's all those inactive things. That's, I find, where I'm working more and more now. It's just going, you know what, let it go. Let's go have an ice cream. Oh, let it go. Let's go and walk in the park and look at the houses and the birds. You're much more quicker at disengaging instead of spending hours winding yourself up emotionally and then crashing because you feel bad because you've wound yourself up. You wind yourself up less. You crash and burn a lot less. You live more in the middle instead of huge highs and huge lows. You live more in that space, and it's much easier living in that state because you're not destroying yourself emotionally. You're mentally conserving your energy. You're physically conserving your energy. You're giving your energy only to those things you want to do. You're saying no to a lot of stuff, and you're living a life purely from where you want to be and go to. And anybody that comes in that's kind of trying to say, hey, come this way, can you have a look at this? No, sorry, I don't have time for that, and I don't want to do it. And that's personally as well as in work. So you get much better at using the energy for those things you really want, and therefore you manifest more quickly because you're not diluting and scattering your energies everywhere.
Right.
So, yeah.
I completely agree on all of that. For me, I guess this is one thing that's kind of, there were times in my life, so I'll speak to that for sure. But right now it's more of a direction. Like I've kind of said, it's more of a broad stroke. And the way to me, I kind of liken it, and the way it feels like to me is it's kind of like when you surf on a longboard, and I know not necessarily a lot of people know how to do this, but the wave kind of starts to pick you up. Longboards just glide so easily, so you start paddling, and it doesn't take much to get it. You get up, and then it's just pushing you, and you're just kind of gliding along, looking where you're going. It's like if I want to turn a little left, if I want to turn a little right, I do. But ultimately, there's no like, I have to have this, I need this right now, this needs to happen in my life. Like things are going in a groovy direction. Now, I will also say, one of the things that made the biggest difference for me, and it really went back to when I finally made it at a big radio station in East Tennessee. I literally had people tell me, you will never do this. You will never make it. And I didn't care. I was going to. I knew I was going to. And I was determined to do it. So that was one of those where it wasn't like I was always anxious that I wasn't getting it. It was always that thing where I know since I don't have it right now, it may be tomorrow because I know it's coming, right? Like that was always how I saw it. And when it finally happened, it was one of those things where I know I can accomplish whatever I put my mind to. And that is really, like I said, a lot of where my law of attraction knowledge came was prior to ever even hearing about like The Secret or any of that stuff. Was kind of more just sheer determination and willpower, and then looking back in hindsight and going, yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. I was using the law of attraction principles, right? So I think the struggle, I mean, it doesn't happen immediately. So again, I kind of think that's one of the things, is understanding it's a process, understanding that it's occurring, understanding that it's on its way. And I guess the only argument I can ever offer, because I know a lot of people want to say that it can be instant, and okay, I mean, it can, but like, how often do you imagine it and then like open your eyes and there it is in front of you? Like it's rarely like immediate, right? So there's obviously some small amount of time that needs to occur or whatever. And I think it's just, we live in a reality that's a three-dimensional reality based with time on top of that, and that's just, it's the way we move through moments. It's a moment by moment existence. It's just, I think, part of what being alive at Earth is, and we can create that magic along the way, if you will.
And I think urgency is one of the things. Wanting instant manifestation says a lot about, I just want to get over to where that thing is, whatever it is, and you're totally in rabbit mode. You're not in turtle mode, and it's the turtle that wins the race. It's the steady laying of the bricks to build the house.
In a lot of these cases too, there's a perceived happiness that exists with this thing we're trying to create, and that separates us from it. If it is your happiness and your happiness is not already there, then you've already separated yourself from that reality. And I think that's where it also can get difficult for people is that how can I go faster? How can I, it's just relax, let it. And it is that art of allowing. I don't remember which author it was that said that, but it's that
Esther,
whole. Is that Esther Hicks? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Esther,
But that's right. It's the book. That's the book I read of hers that really got me into law of attraction, oddly. It's that whole concept that really letting it come. And like to your point, exactly, I agree. It's that what I call mind chatter throughout the day. And it's just when I don't worry about the fact that I don't have it right this second, I find it doesn't pop up in my head a bunch throughout the day because it's not on that forefront. So maybe it's unfair, but it's kind of also an advantage to eventually getting to the point where you've been using this stuff for a number of years and you've kind of got things in motion, much like the Agnes Vivarelli empire. Just saying. I remember when you only had 10 people working for you. Like that? You like that? You like that little I remember when technique thing thrown out there?
I like that. I like that.
Okay, I want to say one thing. What's that?
I wanted to say something about, because Miss Brock asked, is it necessary to do maintenance manifesting to keep it, or does it just happen naturally? Yes. I mean, I personally do maintenance every day, which is the affirmations I mentioned and the meditations, because, I've had numerous emails and numerous people that I work with over the last 2 years. They got their SP back. They got a great job. And then they dropped the ball. They went, oh, great, I've got this now. They forgot about self-love meditations, forgot about affirmations, and then they lost their specific person.
Fall back into old habits.
Count countless stories like that. So maintenance is about, because you start to go back to your old I need to get ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is an energy sucker too, by the way. I need to get is a vampiric kind of process too, when you get like that. Vampiric. I think that was your energy vampires. I believe that was your term, wasn't it?
I've never heard it said like that though. Vampiric.
Yeah. Well, I thought sometimes I like to mix it up a little, Agnes, and abuse the English language the way it was meant to be abused.
Vampiric. Wow, I'm impressed. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Agnes, welcome to Dan RadioStyle's world. I hope I think it's a real word. I hope, anyways. But needless to say, I make up words frequently, so I never know. Anyways,
I'll ask my Suri Bosley, I call him. I'm going to ask him because I bought the phone in England, so he's probably got that.
Check the Scrabble dictionary, see if it's currently in there.
Exactly.
Is this okay? Is this word marked?
Is this a proper word?
Right.
Okay, Olivia's question. I'm going to read it to you.
Right.
What was for you some of your very low moments, and how did you raise yourself up? I know you guys are human too, although it doesn't seem like it in your videos. Olivia, that's hilarious. You seem like you're made of magic and 100% positive energy. So it would help to hear about some behind the scenes examples of picking yourself up when things didn't go as envisaged.
Yeah, I frequently like to joke, and I can't say it because I know, but yeah, I can see certain things you should never say on YouTube videos. Anyway, for me, low moments, definitely without a doubt. I will say the lowest, without a doubt, in my life was my last part of my adventure in East Tennessee. So the whole radio thing was basically done. And I was working in grocery. I was living in my ex-girlfriend's sister's house. I was 2,400 miles away from my family. And I was trying to figure out a way to make it in this other state, right? I was trying to find different jobs, trying to get into any place where I could make more money than I was currently making, which is kind of my normal nature. And I kept getting frustrated and very frustrated. In fact, it was probably there was one of two times in my life I had suicidal thoughts, right? So it was super low for me. And really for me, a lot of what I have found that causes me to have those depression bouts, and they don't happen very often anymore. Fortunately, I catch them earlier. And what for me I notice is that I tend to be fixated or focused on what I don't have, what I'm missing, what I lack. And the more I think of that stuff, the more I create more of that stuff, and it creates this vicious spiral. And even if when you're having negative thoughts, and a lot of us do it, I wonder if they're cheating on me. I wonder if they're at so-and-so's house. Like, we start spinning thoughts, and we go down these horrific paths that really leave reality probably very early on. Like, they're probably mostly made up and not real, but we believe them, and we're spinning these thoughts. So I had basically gotten myself to feel horrible because I kept focusing on all the things that weren't going right in my life. And there was someone that was kind of messing with me emotionally at that time that I was trying to, you know, make a transition, and that wasn't going well. And so again, I think it was finally acknowledging what is going right in my life. And it wasn't too long after that that actually, apparently my dad had been talking to my roommate and talked her into kicking me out, essentially. And because of that, I basically reached out to my parents and said, "Is there, you know, can you help? I need to get home. I need to get out of here."
Yeah.
So fortunately, that was the point when I turned my entire life around, ended up back out here, started a good career, and you know, it's just really gone up from there. So for me, I find when I focus on what I don't have, and that, I guess, is why it's such a important thing to me, and why I try so hard to, like, no, focus on what you would like to experience. Stop worrying about what's happening right now, is because for me, when I do that, I can get very depressed, and I just don't, it doesn't work for me. I have to focus on what is going right and where I am trying to go. And I've just found that that tends to keep me feeling a little better in the big picture.
Yeah.
I think that answers that question, I hope.
Yeah. No, that's good.
What about you?
Well, I would say very low moment, my dad getting Alzheimer's and having to go through 7 years of watching him slowly die. That was an incredibly low moment, watching my mum struggle with that, me struggling with, you know, just because of what I knew at this time about the mind and all that stuff, just seeing my dad do everything in his power to not help himself. And I'm talking about prior to the Alzheimer's, like the 2 packets of cigarettes a day, eating just, you know, horribly wrong foods. And, you know, my mum and I were trying to help him get well, and he was just defiant that he didn't want to get well. Right. So that was a real lesson in, you know, obviously letting go of, just because you love somebody doesn't mean that they're going to want to be here. So that was an incredibly low point, and I was mentally, emotionally, and physically smashed by that after 7 years. And then there was the grief afterwards, and I was really angry because I was angry. My mum was in pain, but I was angry. So that was a difficult time for me. Also, my husband taking off with the bondage mistress in New Zealand. Every time I say it now,
I'd love to just do that as a story. I mean, oh man, I think we could sell that. Like, we could bottle that and sell that. That would just, it's a book, I'm telling you.
Oh God, every time I say
it's a sad moment too.
Like,
That's the sad part.
It was sad. It's so not sad.
I know, but we've talked about. Yeah, I know. I know there's a little. You and I have talked about this a few times, but oh my God, yeah, that whole story is it's amazing.
Madness.
I would love to do the play-by-play. I mean, I've just some of the things that make me strange. Some.
Yeah, that was a low point. My whole relationship, and then they were sleeping. Him and his third party were sleeping 1 street away.
Fantastic.
So I'm married to him, laying in bed on my own, and he's with her 1 street away, house sitting or something. And I wanted to burn the house down. Obviously, I didn't, but I had a lot of thoughts about it. So that was a pretty low point.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, when you're considering doing that, that's
extremely low point.
Right,
considered it and spent a lot of time fantasizing about it. And then one of my other relationships, I was with him for 5 years, and then he went, I thought, to the States to see his family. He was actually going to see his family and get married and get his wife pregnant, when I thought he was still with me. And I got an email to tell me that.
If you're going to do it and use the miles, you might as well do all that other stuff while you're there, right? Get married, knock someone up, bam. I was my vacation to the United States. Well, there you go.
I was like, when you left here, I thought we were still together. I didn't actually see that one coming. So had some pretty heavy duty I'm second best going on to create that.
Did they even make a postcard for that announcement? Like, how do you, what's the greeting card there that you pick out? hey, guess what? On my vacation, I got married and got someone pregnant. Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah. Ah, and she's my wife now. I got my wife pregnant. What?
FYI,
I thought we were still together. So yeah, those were probably the 3 really low moments. And also moving to Australia from Canada. Really low moment at 17 years old. Really hated my parents for months, didn't speak to them for at least 2 months. I did not want to come to Australia. I was 17. I had my friends. I was about to go into my final year of school. Instead of being with people I'd been with my whole life, I was in some random country, which I refused to look up on the map because I didn't want to know where Australia was or even where Sydney was. I thought I'm going to know the least amount about this place because I'm getting out of here shortly. And I spent my final year at school with a whole bunch of strangers.
And by the way, where everything can kill you except earthworms. Yeah,
and that's when the lizard ran after me down the street. So, the lizard was a high point. Being there for a whole year was a low point. But there's been, So I've spoken about it for longer than 17 seconds, and I don't want to talk about it anymore because I don't want to create it.
So those were some of the, I think, the highs and
lows. So there you go.
That both of us.
Olivia.
Yes, Olivia. She's good.
Yeah, Olivia. We do not. You said it, you guys are human too, but although it doesn't seem like it in your videos, I can tell you, there's been a lot of moments laying on the floor in the fetal position on my end. I won't speak for Dan.
It's like a regular. I cry myself to sleep every night. What are you talking about? You don't do that too?
Oh no, you do it when you're digesting your food every day.
That's right. I know, like the snake. Exactly. That's funny. Yeah, it's.
Well, there we go. We've answered it. What an interesting, it was just an interesting topic, these questions, I have to say.
I loved it. And the people that these questions represent, too, are just great viewers on my channel as well. And
lovely.
Love it. It was just good times. And I was really happy with the questions. They put some real thought into it. And I thought that was all like good topics. Yeah, good stuff. And it's cool, too, how we kind of both have like different spins on stuff and different takes. And it's still, we're kind of all heading in the same direction. So that's one of the joys of watching both of our channels is you'll find we both cover some of the stuff from slightly different avenues, but still ultimately pointing in the same direction. Yours is just from a different country right now.
Yes.
I like it when you're in England. That actually works so much easier for the recordings.
Yeah, I'll be back there in 3 weeks. For our next one, I'll be there.
That's right. Good deal. Cheers. Cheerio.
Yeah. Cheerio.
Talk properly, not that crazy down under. Anyway, I love it so much. Well, Agnes, thank you so much, and everybody, thank you guys for watching and enjoying. And I know Agnes has a bunch of like books and classes and all sorts of stuff she does. I know her links are going to be below. I talked about that Neil Donald Walsh stuff. I got a couple links below some of the books that I'm kind of fond of. You can check out my site for those. But
excellent.
Like good stuff.
We'll do. We'll post everything that we've talked about. Any links to anything, and you guys can. Chew on it. All of it.
Chew on it is right, like a piece of gristle, but hopefully something better than that, hopefully.
Yeah, grizzle's not tasty.
No, grizzle's not at all, in fact.